Hi guys, I'm back on the farm today with my dad, the owner of Bountiful Blessings Farm, and today we're going to be showing you guys the process of getting a field plot that is a no-till field plot ready for planting. We're going to be showing the amendment process that they use and compost and getting landscape fabric down and how they're utilizing that to maximize the no-till planting method. So let's get straight into it, Dad.
Yeah, so when it comes to soil health and soil fertility, we kind of have a three-pronged approach that I may have talked about briefly in another video, but basically we're looking at soil structure, the physical components of the soil, and to improve that we're adding peat moss in the hoop houses and compost in the fields. But it's a very, as I said, low octane compost, so it's high carbon, low nitrogen. So that's kind of the physical side, and then we take yearly soil tests for most of our fields, at least for the high value fields.
Okay.
And we're amending according to those soil tests. So that would be adding your macro and micro nutrients. And then, of course, we've talked about the AEA protocol, which is, in addition to some fertility, it's adding, or it's inoculating the soil with beneficial bacteria and fungi. So that's kind of our three-pronged approach. The biological approach, trying to get life back into the soil. The chemical approach, which is dealing with amendments, and then the physical approach, the soil structure.
Yeah.
So right now we're looking at the chemical side of things, the macro and micronutrients, and this field is going to have corn on it, which anybody who's into market gardening knows that corn is not a very profitable crop. I mean, everybody loves it, but it doesn't make a lot per acre. So that's not one that we're taking soil tests every year for. So basically from years of doing this, I kind of have a pretty good idea of what we need to be adding.
Okay.
So for nitrogen, we're always adding some form of nitrogen. We use a product called guided nitrogen. I'm not really sure what the guided part is about, but it's a pelletized feather meal. So this is the bag for the guided nitrogen. The main ingredient, of course, is feather meal, which is your nitrogen material, but it also has diatomaceous earth, leonardite ore, organic molasses, and kelp pelletized together to flow through planting equipment. So it's a good product from Ohio Earth Food. It's a 1200, and it's worked well for us. It's much easier to apply than like powdered feather meal.
Okay.
But it's also, it doesn't have too bad a smell.
Yeah, some of these amendments can be pretty rough on the nose.
Yeah, so we really like it. So for nitrogen, we're using this pelletized feather meal product. We don't need phosphorus, as we've talked about in previous videos, because our soil is naturally high. We seem to always be low in potassium. We use about 20 pounds of sulfate of potash, which is 0.050, on 3,000 square feet. So we're not doing acres. Our plots are 3,000 square feet.
Okay. So everything's calculated off of 3,000 square foot plots.
Yes.
Okay.
And on the nitrogen, we use between 20 and 30 pounds per 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
Of the feather meal.
So that's what this is?
Yeah.
30 pounds already?
That's 30 pounds. And because corn is a heavy feeder, we go on the upper end with that.
Okay.
So, with these, it's just a matter of weighing it out. That's pretty basic. So we're going to do 20 pounds here. And one thing I've learned with these kind of amendments, you know, it doesn't have to. It's not exact science where you have to get it exactly at 20 pounds. So that's 20.78. And then the other thing we always need is boron. So we use a 10% boron product, tear it out, and we use about 1.5 pounds of boron per
3,000 square foot.
3,000 square feet. So that's a little over 1.5 pounds. You know, boron is one of those things. It's a micronutrient, so you don't use much, but it is important. So we mix that with the sulfate of potash, and then we seem to always be low in sulfur, so we add, of course, the sulfate of potash has sulfur in it, but we add about an additional 5 pounds or so of sulfur.
So in a previous video, we did talk about where you're getting your soil testing done, which was the Kinsey, wasn't it Kinsey Labs?
Kinsey Ag Labs.
Kinsey Ag Labs.
Out of Missouri.
So they give you the report, which is what you're utilizing, maybe not in this case specifically, but in general, that's what you're utilizing for your amendment protocol.
Correct.
Now, do they specifically tell you what to add, or do you have to kind of deduce that from the reports?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, I'm not even sure what they would tell me, just if I did it straight through them. But I'm actually working with a soil consultant out of Kentucky.
Okay.
And so the tests go from Kinsey to him, and he interprets them and gives recommendations.
Okay.
So I'm not even sure what you would get if you just went straight through Kinsey.
Is the soil consultant you're working with, the consultant you're working with, doing that for the general public?
I mean,
should we put their information in the description?
Yeah, I think last time I talked to him, he's no longer farming.
Okay.
He's doing this full time.
Okay.
And you know, I don't know how many clients he can handle, but I have referred a number of people to him.
Okay. Well, we will try to.
Whitmar
we'll double check on
McConnell
that.
is
We'll double
his
check
name.
on that, but we'll put the information down below.
Okay, so we've got the other thing that I add usually. I just want to show this because I found a neat trick here. Is some C90, you know, roughly 5 pounds or so of C90.
Okay.
Which of course has sodium, but it's supposed to have a lot of other micronutrients as well. But then usually I'm adding some copper sulfate, which I've learned from experience is the one amendment that we use that can cause some real physical, I mean, if you get it in your eyes or on your skin, it's not so good. Well, the main thing from my experience is breathing it in. And since it's a powder, you know, it's hard not to breathe it in. Yeah. So I have found, and you know, usually with the copper sulfate, I don't normally do it without specific soil test results, but I'm just going to add a little bit just to show what I think has been a game changer. If any of you know anything about copper sulfate, it comes in this bright blue powdered form, pure form, and just for sake of illustration here, I'm going to add a pound of it. You don't need a whole lot. We like to get it up to 10 parts per million, and that is one beef we had with the organic program. They only allowed you to address deficiencies when it came to micronutrients, rather than trying to get your levels up to really ideal levels. So what I do, because this C90 is kind of sticky. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you feel like you've been to the beach when you play with it much. So I just take this copper sulfate and pour it in with the C90, and then just use something to mix it in, and it binds to the C90, sticks to it well enough that when I go to apply it, I'm not, breathing it or anything. That works really well.
Okay. So yeah, it's just sticking to the C90, which that was awesome.
So then I pour it in here, and then the final stage, once I've got all my amendments, so those are the ones like I say, I don't normally apply copper without specific recommendations, but C90, boron, a little sulfur, and sulfate of potash,
Yeah.
plus the feather meal.
Yep.
Those
Kind of standard.
Okay. And that's not saying it's going to be what you need,
Sure.
the viewer, wherever, because every place is different.
Definitely. So the items that are smaller quantities, you mix them together and you'll broadcast it together.
Yeah, so this is the way I do it. I just go back and forth between buckets, and I found that if you do that about 7 times, you just do it until it all looks homogenized. I mean, it's looking pretty good already. This is my go-to spreader, chest spreader, Earthway. And I don't remember the model number. I think it's 3500 or something. We've tried different ones.
Yep.
And we're back to this. This is what we use for spreading all our amendments, as well as cover crop seed.
Yeah. All right, let's go spread it.
So we've got a field here which last fall had brassicas in it, and we undersow the brassicas with crimson clover, and that's worked real well for us. And so yesterday, this was a beautiful field of crimson clover. So I came in with the tractor. This is 6 raised beds on a 3,000 square foot plot. Flail mowed the beds. And since it's raised, it mows the top of the bed, and then of course the pathways are knocked down by the tractor, and they're already standing up again. So it doesn't really kill the clover in the pathways, but that's fine. We don't mind clover in the pathways.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to put the amendments on, and then we'll come back and spread some compost, and we'll be ready to put our fabric down.
Nice.
So it works real well with this Earthway spreader to cover it in 2 passes, down and back. So I'm going for the middle of this, which means I have to walk on the beds, but that's okay. Okay, I got that pretty good, but I've got just a little bit more. You always want to err on the side of having extra rather than running out. With this, I just kind of go down the middle and crank extra hard so it covers more. So then I do the same for the feather meal. You want to really rinse it off after you've spread amendments, because something like I say, I think especially the copper is rather caustic. So we'll just spread the feather meal and then we're ready to spread compost. You know, there's a lot of interest in organic no-till these days, and I'm all for it, but we've spent years trying to figure out how to make it work. Because, you know, if you just crimp a cover crop, you know, which is kind of the classic way to do it, a rye cover crop, the rye will inhibit weed germination for about a month from my experience. But then the weeds just start growing through the cover crop and you're sunk because you can't cultivate or anything. And so you end up, you know, if you have a crop like melons or squash or something, you just end up with a weed patch. So the quick plant fabric is the way we've figured out we can actually do no-till. So, you know, as we've done here, we can just roll it, or I find it works best to flail mow it first. Add your compost, your amendments. The one thing we didn't show here, but we've showed in another video, is spraying the soil primer to kind of inoculate all of this. And then we just pull out our quick plant weed fabric and staple it down. You know, the other way we've done it, I mean, there's two ways to do it. You can just silage tarp this for a week or two, and that's going to kill everything. But in this case, because we need to get the corn in quick, we're just going to put the landscape fabric out. And, you know, we might get a few weeds through the holes where the corn is, but it's not going to be much.
Yeah.
And so it works, and we're very excited about it as a way to do no-till.
And you've done this for a couple of years, right?
I think 3 years we've been experimenting with it.
So it keeps the weeds from growing up, which with the no-till mat of, you know, whatever, if it's clover or rye or whatever, that makes it impossible to cultivate at that point. And then this just kind of keeps the weeds at bay. Obviously it cuts down any labor you may have to do, you know, weeding. But if I remember right, now you're planting corn here, which a lot of people are probably going to think that's crazy to be doing this for corn, but it makes it to where after you plant, you don't have to do anything. And then I remember one year where you did a side-by-side comparison with the fabric and no fabric, and talk about the results that you saw there, because I thought that was
I mean, it was
staggering.
It was quite amazing. I mean, you know, the corn in the fabric was head and shoulders ahead of the other, not only in size, but it was darker green. Clearly, you know, people thought it was two different varieties.
Yeah.
It
looked
difference
like
was
two
so
different
dramatic.
succession plantings or something, because I mean, it was way different. And it was same exact variety of corn planted at the same exact time. The only difference, and it would have been, you know, irrigated and sprinkled, you know, in the same exact, you know, timing and sequences and everything, because it was side by side. But the corn that was in the fabric was just way ahead of the stuff that was just in bare soil. So that was interesting as well.
Yeah. And so we are transplanting corn. You know, we only do 2 fields, 2 of these 30 by 100 fields of corn. So it's only a small amount. You know, we're not trying to make money really. We're just trying to keep our CSA happy.
Yeah.
And of course we enjoy corn ourselves.
You got to have sweet corn on the 4th of July for your CSA customers.
Yeah, I mean, summer without sweet corn wouldn't feel like summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do a little bit. We do 3-inch blocks and 4 seeds in each block. So it's easy to pick because you can pick 2 or 3 ears at each cluster here.
Yeah.
It works well, you know.
Well,
and
not everybody has the luxury, you know, if you're growing in, if you have a small acreage farm, but you guys have enough land here where you do have the ability to do some of these less profitable crops just out of, the factor of wanting to.
Keeping CSA happy, they can only handle so much lettuce and kale.
Yep.
So having a variety is important.
Okay, well, I hope this video has been helpful. We're gonna wrap it up. We've got 3 kids that have gotten covered in compost that we need to go bathe. But this shows you the process that they use here on the farm of prepping a no-till field plot, utilizing compost and the fertilizer protocol, and last but not least, quick plant fabric to keep your sanity in a few months or in a few weeks when the weeds start growing up through this. So
yeah, we'll have to revisit this once the corn starts coming up.
Definitely. Okay, hope you all have enjoyed this. Until next time, happy growing.